Now, I am 60 years old. My hair is silver, and time has changed my face. But sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I still see the girl I used to be. A young girl so beautiful, a young girl full of dreams, full of life, and full of hope. A girl who had no idea what life was planning to do. My name is Azita. I grew up in a small town in a simple house. Our family was not rich, but we had enough. I lived with my mother, father, one brother, and one sister. My sister's name is Rosita. She was only 1 year younger than me, but people always thought we were twins. We looked very similar, but we were also very different. My skin was olive-toned. My hair was black, and my eyes were brown. Rosita had light skin, soft brown hair, and beautiful light green eyes like a crystal spring pond. I was strong and wild. She was a happy, fun, and naughty girl, and together we were magic. Every day we walked to school together. When we walked through the town, boys followed us. They always stared at us, and sometimes they whispered things. The girls at school were in 2 groups. One group liked us and wanted to be our friends. The other group was jealous of us and talked behind our backs. But Rosita and I didn't care. We were happy. We laughed and sang. We danced. We played. We studied together and talked about our dreams. Sometimes, when our mother and brothers were busy, we talked about boys. We laughed and made jokes. We were young. We were free. Life was bright. Life was light. We didn't worry about anything. We thought this happy time would never end. But then, things began to change. People started talking about protests. People started talking about problems in the country. We heard people were shouting against government in the streets. We heard people shouting on the TV. At first, we didn't understand. At first, we didn't care. But soon, everything changed. A few months later, the government changed. There was a revolution, and that was the beginning of all the pain. That was the day our beautiful life started to fall apart. From that day, everything changed. The colors of our life disappeared. It felt like someone took a big brush and painted our world gray. The happy days were gone. The sky felt darker. Our world became quiet and cold. We used to sing together at home and at school. We used to laugh loudly. We used to wear bright clothes and dance with our hair in the wind. But now we had to cover our hair. We had to wear long, dark clothes. Sometimes we looked in the mirror and didn't recognize ourselves. We could no longer wear the clothes we loved. The dresses with flowers, the skirts that danced when we walked, all of them were gone. We had to put them deep inside the closet, hidden, forgotten. And our beautiful hair? We had to cover it, always. We had to hide our hair under big, thick scarves. The scarves were heavy. They were hot. But we had no choice. Even showing a few strands of hair was not allowed. If a girl's scarf moved and a little bit of her hair was visible, she could be punished. Just a few hairs, that was enough for the police to stop her. All the people in the streets wore dark and loose clothes. Everyone had to follow the orders of the new government. You could no longer hear music from any house or car because music had been banned. Everywhere, there was only the sound of mourning. Everything felt heavy. Everything felt wrong. And deep inside, I knew our happy world was gone. We were no longer free. We were no longer ourselves. 2 years after those dark days, a war began. It was a big war, a sudden war, a war between our country and the country next to us. We lived in a border city. That means our city was the first to feel the war. We were the first victims. We were the first people to lose our peace. We heard sirens every day. We heard bombs. We heard explosions. The sound of war replaced the sound of children laughing. The sound of fear was everywhere. We could not sleep at night. We could not go to school. We could not even go shopping without fear. We had no choice. We had to leave our city. We had to leave our home. We had to leave everything we loved behind. We took our suitcases. We took what we could carry. We got on a bus. We went to other cities, new cities, unknown cities, cities that were not home. We were safe, but we were not happy. We were alive, but we were lost. We were confused. When we arrived in the new city, we had nothing. We had no home. We had no furniture. We had no money. We only had our lives and one small suitcase with a few clothes and old photos inside. The city was strange. Everything was unfamiliar. The people were strangers. The streets were different. In those hard days, no one helped us. No one gave us a home. So the people decided to help themselves. They were tired. They were scared. But they were strong. Many families went to empty apartments and old houses. These places had no people. They were silent and dark. The people broke the locks. They opened the windows. They cleaned the rooms, and they started to live there. But not everyone was strong. Some people were too sad. Some people were too tired. The pain was too much. Many people had heart attacks. Some died in their sleep. Some people committed suicide. Some died sitting alone, thinking of their past. We watch people break. We watch people fall. But even then, inside the broken walls, hope was still alive. Like many others, we finally found a place to stay. We moved into one of the small apartments. It was empty. It was dusty. There was no bed, no chairs, not even a light bulb. But still, it felt like a palace. It was a home. We started to clean. We washed the walls. We cleaned the windows. We put old blankets on the floor. That was our carpet. That was our new life. At night, we sat together. There was no TV. There was no music. There was no big dinner. But we were together, and that was enough. We remembered the happy times. We talked about family gatherings, singing, dancing, and playing with our friends. Sometimes we cried. Life was no longer easy. We didn't have soft beds or new clothes. We didn't have sweet desserts or warm food. Those things were gone, but we were still alive. We still had each other. We still had love, and that in those dark days was everything. After many months of pain, life slowly became brighter again. We started school again. We went to a new school in the new city. At first, we were confused. Everything was new, but youth is strong. Hope is strong. We were still young. We were still full of life. Soon, we made new friends. I was in my last year of high school. I thought about my future every day. I wanted to go to university. I wanted to become a teacher, or maybe a writer. The war, the fear, the sadness, they were behind us now. We were building a new life, with empty hands, but hearts full of dreams. Every day, we went to school wearing long and loose coats. They were always dark-colored, black, gray, or dark blue. Our scarves were long and thick. We had to cover all of our hair and fall over our shoulders. Even our shoes and jackets had to be dark. We were not allowed to wear bright colors. From head to toe, we looked like shadows. Sad, quiet shadows, walking into cold classrooms. At the school gate, there were student monitors waiting for us. These were girls like us. But now they were acting like guards. They were chosen to check the other students. They opened our bags and looked inside. They searched for love letters. They searched for banned books. They looked for cassette tapes with music. Even a small poem could be a problem. We had to be very careful. They also checked our faces. They stared at our skin. If they saw even a little makeup, a touch of color on the lips or cheeks, they gave us a warning. If we said anything back, they sent us to the principal's office. They yelled at us. They made us feel ashamed. School was not a safe place for us. It was full of fear, rules, and silence. It was not a school. It was a place with tall walls, heavy eyes, and locked doors. They treated the beautiful girls worse than the others. It was like being beautiful was a crime. If a girl had soft skin, shiny eyes, or a gentle smile, she got more attention, the wrong kind of attention. Rosita, my sister, was always a target. She had full, soft lips. Her lips looked beautiful even without anything on them. The school monitors always stopped her. They looked at her with cold, suspicious eyes. They said, "You are wearing lipstick." Rosita said, "No, I am not." But they didn't believe her. They never listened. They took a tissue. They wiped her lips, hard. They did it with no kindness. Sometimes they hurt her. Her lips would bleed. We stood there and watched. Our hearts were full of pain and anger. But we couldn't say anything. No one could. Still, we went to school. We studied, even with the insults, even with the shame. We continued. After school finishes each day, boys walk quietly around our school, looking nervous and scared. They are afraid of being caught by the police and school guards. But still, they try to show their love to us. With a small smile, a fast glance, a small piece of romantic paper, or a soft whisper, they say what their hearts feel. Sometimes one brave boy tried to speak. He passed a secret note. He whispered softly, "I love you," A few girls, the braver ones, answered back. They smiled. They replied with a few quiet words. But most of the girls said nothing. They looked down. They walked away, not because they didn't want to love, but because they were afraid to love. They were afraid of the school guards. They were afraid of the police. They were afraid of their fathers. They were afraid of losing their family's honor. Even a small smile could be dangerous. Even a kind word could cause trouble. And most of all, love was forbidden. Just thinking about love could make a girl feel like a criminal. Every few days, we walked down the street, and again, we saw a crowd. People were standing still. They were quiet. They were watching something. In the middle of the crowd, a man was lying on the ground with no shirt. He was being whipped again and again. His back was covered in wounds and blood. His face was full of pain. His crime, he had drunk a glass of wine. That was all, and because of that, he was being punished in the street. The police were whipping him in front of everyone. People watched in silence. No one said a word, not because they agreed, but because they were afraid. They had learned to stay quiet. Drinking wine was the worst crime. Worse than stealing. Worse than lying. Worse than anything. And the punishment? Whipping. In public. In the daylight. Where everyone could see. Our world was full of fear and terror. Everywhere we looked, there was punishment and blame. We were even afraid of our own shadows. We didn't know anymore what was allowed and what was a crime. There was so much cruelty and injustice around us. Some people, out of fear, chose to stand with the rulers. They thought it was safer to follow the government than to speak their truth. Every day, they judged us for our clothes, for our thoughts, for what we liked, and for everything else. It felt like we were living inside a big prison, a prison called home country. One rainy day, we were coming back from school. The rain was heavy. It fell hard and cold. We had no umbrella. Our clothes were wet. Our shoes were full of water. We were cold. We were tired. We waited at the bus stop, hugging ourselves to stay warm. Then a car stopped in front of us. A clean car. A warm car. The window opened. A calm voice said, "Girls, do you want to ride home?" Rosita and I looked at each other. We were not sure. We felt afraid. But we were cold and tired. So we said yes. We got in the car. The driver was polite. He was quiet. He was kind. He didn't ask questions. He didn't look at us the wrong way. He just said, "I saw you in the rain. I wanted to help." He took us home. We said thank you. We felt confused. Not bad, not good. Just strange. A few days later, we saw the same car again, the same man, the same smile. He said, "Come in," and we did. After that, he came almost every day. He waited for us at the same place. He was eagerly waiting for us. Little by little, we started to understand. His looks were not just friendly anymore. He was kind to both of us, but when He talked to Rosita. His eyes were different, softer, brighter. I was always close to Rosita. I knew her well, and I was the first to see the truth. At night, when we turned off the light and lay under the blankets, we whispered to each other. We talked about him. We talked about his voice, his quiet smile, the way he looked at her. We laughed softly, like children with a secret. Our cheeks were warm. Our hearts were full of questions. Rosita didn't say much at first, but her eyes said everything. She was thinking about him. She was dreaming. Then one day, it happened. He told her the truth. He said he liked her. He said his heart was not quiet anymore. He asked her if she felt the same. And Rosita, with her soft smile and shining eyes, said yes. His name was Sam. He was young, kind, and respectful. He always looked clean. He always spoke softly. When he talked, we listened. When he smiled, we felt safe. Sam had a good job. He went to university. His family was noble and kind. His father was a retired teacher. His mother was gentle and smart. Everything about Sam gave us hope. After so much pain, we finally saw something good. We were happy. We felt that maybe, just maybe, life could still be beautiful. Months passed. Summer came. The air was warm. The sun was strong. The trees were full of green leaves. The smell of jasmine flowers filled all the streets. One day, Sam came to our home. He asked my mother if Rosita could come to his sister's birthday party. My mother looked at him. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Bring her home early. Don't be late." She touched Rosita's shoulders, gently. She fixed her dress, and she said, "Take care of yourself, my daughter." That night, we waited for Rosita. We didn't sleep. We couldn't. My mother and I sat in silence. We looked at the clock again and again. Midnight passed. 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock. Still, no Rosita. We had no phone. We had no car. We could only wait. Our hearts were full of fear. In the morning, I ran outside. I went to a shop where I could use the phone. I called Sam's house. His sister answered. Her voice was tired. Her voice was afraid. She said, "We don't know where they are. Sam left last night with Rosita, and he never came back." When I heard the news, it felt like my heart stopped. It was like the world around me suddenly went silent. I didn't want to believe it. It felt like a bad dream. My hands were shaking, and my mind couldn't understand what just happened. With shaky leg, I went home and told my mother the terrible news. She sat down and covered her face. She cried. We had no other choice. We went to the police. We waited for hours. We asked no questions. We begged. We cried. And then they told us the truth. The police had arrested Rosita and Sam, the morality patrol, the police for social order, had stopped them. When Sam was driving Rosita home, the morality police stopped their car. Because they weren't officially married, they were arrested. In our country, a man and a woman cannot walk together. or sit in a car together if they are not legally married. It didn't matter that they were in love. It didn't matter that they did nothing wrong. It felt like an earthquake, a big one, maybe 8 on the scale. Everyone was angry. There was hate and fear. We felt hopeless. We felt weak. We didn't know what to do. Our small house felt like hell. Rosita was in trouble. Rosita, my sweet, kind sister, was now in prison. A man and a woman, not married by law, were pulled out of a car. The morality police caught them. They were beaten with whips in the middle of the street while people watched. We had seen it before, many times, on the street, in public, in front of everyone. The sound of the whip was loud. The woman screamed. People stood in silence. Some cried, some looked away, some just watched, afraid to speak. And now, Rosita was in prison. Our hearts were burning. Our fear was real. We asked ourselves, will they hurt her too? A few days later, Sam was released. But Rosita, she was still in prison. They refused to let her go. Sam was very sad. He felt ashamed. He said sorry many times. He asked my mother to forgive him. We went to the police again and again. We asked. We begged. We cried. Every time the answer was the same. No. Wait. There is a delay. There is a problem with the papers. We went to the prison many times. Our hearts were full of fear and hope. We stood behind the tall doors. We waited for someone to say, "You can visit her." But the answer was always the same. No visits are allowed. We asked why. We begged. And the answer they gave us felt like a knife in our hearts, because she tried to escape. We could not believe it. Our Rosita, kind, gentle Rosita, how could she escape from tall walls and heavy iron bars? But the truth did not matter to them. They only needed an excuse to keep her silent, an excuse to leave her alone. And we, standing outside the closed doors, could do nothing. We could only cry. We were angry. We were tired. We were broken. Our house was full of pain. My father shouted. He blamed my mother. He said, "You let her go. It's your fault." And my mother, she cried alone. I heard her tears at night in bed. And me, I was burning inside. I couldn't stop thinking about Rosita. Was she hungry? Was she scared? Was someone hurting her? I didn't want to imagine. Was going crazy. 2 long months passed. Then, finally, my parents went to the capital city. They found high officials. They told our story again. And this time, they came back home with something in their hands. Rosita's release order. We all cried. But this time, we cried with joy. We were shaking. We were smiling. We couldn't believe it. I started counting minutes. I dreamed of that moment when she would walk through the door, when I would hold her tight, when we would lie in bed again and talk all night long, share secrets, laugh quietly like before. Sisters, always. We gave the letter to the court. Our hands were shaking, but we were full of hope. We waited for the answer. We thought they would say, "Come, Your daughter is free. But what came was not freedom. It was an earthquake, a disaster, a pain too big for words. They called us. A cold, empty voice said, "Come and take your daughter's body." Everything broke. The air, the walls, my mother's voice, my own soul. Everything turned to dust. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I felt lost. I kept whispering, "This can't be true. This can't be true." But no one answered. Our Rosita, our beautiful, kind, smiling Rosita, was dead. They had hanged her, quietly, secretly. Even with the paper that said she was free, they killed her. Maybe to hide their shame, maybe to silence her forever. When we received her body, she looked like an angel, but her body was full of wounds. Her neck was black from the rope, her hands, her chest, full of scratch marks, cuts. She had fought. She had suffered. She had been hurt, and no one came to help her. I washed her body with my own hands. I put the white cloth around her. My lips shook. My hands were ice. But I stayed strong. I said goodbye. But even in death, they still controlled us. They said, "You cannot cry for her. You cannot bury her in the city." They forced us to take her far away, to a lonely village, to a forgotten place, with no name, no grave, no voice. They wanted her name to disappear, but we whisper it every day, every night, in every breath, Rosita. It has been 42 years, but to me it feels like 400 or more. Every second was heavy. Every breath took a piece of my soul. Because I didn't just lose my sister. I lost my other half, my best friend, my secret keeper, my laugh at night, my strength during pain. Rosita was not just my sister. She was part of me. But my pain is not just about losing her. My pain is about the injustice, the cruelty that killed her, and the cruelty that still hurts so many others like her. So many young women, so many young men. They only wanted to live, to love, to be free. But this country tied their hands with fear, silenced their voices with threats and killing. And now I carry this weight, a weight heavier than a mountain, a sorrow that never leaves. Every morning I look in the mirror. I see my silver hair. I see my tired eyes. And I whisper, if Rosita were alive, her hair would be silver now too. Dear viewers, did you know that a country like this still exists in the 21st century? Did you know such laws are real? Can you guess which country this story happened in? Please write your answers in the comments. I hope this story helped you improve your English. The best way to learn is to repeat. Please watch the video a few times. Repeat the sentences out loud. Good luck. Wish you all the best in your English learning journey.